Hello, and welcome to Cabaret Beat. I'm your host, Wydetta Carter, and as a singer-actress myself, I am excited to bring to you this new virtual series from the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. Until we can all come to the cabaret again at all our favorite spots, we are coming to you with some of your favorite singers, new voices you may not have heard before, their stories, and of course, great music.
Today's guests are Maureen Christine and Kevin Wood.
There's never been a more important time for us to engage, connect, and share our experiences through music and conversation. So, let's join in the chat, share with your friends, and let's begin the Cabaret Beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Are the stars out tonight? I don't know if it's cloudy or bright, but I only have eyes for you, dear. The moon may be high, but I can't see a thing in the sky, 'cause I only have eyes for you. I don't know if we're in a garden or on a crowded avenue. You are here, so am I. Maybe millions of people go by, but they all disappear from view. And I only have eyes for you. I don't know if we're in a garden or on a crowded avenue. You are here, and so am I. Maybe millions of people go by, but they all disappear from view. And I only have eyes for you.
Maureen Christine, hello.
Hello, how are ya?
I am great. I am so happy to be talking to you today. Yay, Maureen. Love it. Oh, and that song was beautiful. I only have eyes for you. I love it. I love it. So let's get to know a little bit about you. Now, I was looking at your bio and I want you to talk to me because it says you have opened for Willie Nelson and Helen Reddy. You have sung with the Count Basie Orchestra. And talk about Willie Nelson to the Count Basie Orchestra. That's a wide gamut. So, but you're very talented. So tell us about it.
Well, I think kind of going back to the beginning. So I started singing when I was really young, and in elementary school, like at the age of 7, I got my first solo, and I think it was to that Burt Bacharach song, "What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love." And that's really when I started thinking in my mind that I was going to be a singer, that I loved it. And so I remember distinctly that when I was 12 years old, that I started getting asked to do little things. Like, you would think, really, 12 years old? But I learned the national anthem. And so I was doing like opening ceremonies with the national anthem for, local various events, senior events, and political events, and summer concert series. So I was kind of that young girl that people were asking. So in the 1985, I think it was, Willie Nelson started doing Farm Aid. And then a couple years later, he actually coordinated Farm Aid with a tour that he was doing. And he came all the way out to a small town west of Woodstock, Illinois. And I was kind of doing some light performing and these opening ceremonies. So I was connected with that event for Farm Aid, and they asked me to open for Willie Nelson, sing the national anthem. I did another song, and I closed up with the national anthem, and then Willie Nelson came out. And I remember being so excited, and that they had told me that Willie Nelson was going to have like this big trailer, and my parents were like, yeah, well, we have a camper. We're going to bring the camper to Farm Aid. You're going to have a changing room too. I mean, my parents were totally involved and invested, and I got to work with his pianist, and it was a very exciting time. And also around that time was Helen Reddy, and she was doing some touring, and she actually was doing like some county fairs. So she was in Springfield, and it was a similar thing. I had a connection with someone. I was doing a special performance out in Springfield. They connected me. And so I did some singing for Helen Reddy as well, kind of, opening, setting the scene out there on the stage. My parents and I pulled up in the motorhome. Oh my gosh.
Was there a star on it? Was there a star with your name on it?
Listen, if my mother could have, she would have put a star on the door of the motorhome, because we thought I was going to be the next Barbra Streisand. So we were in the thick of it. And then, I was doing a lot of that. I was doing weddings. I was doing funerals. I was really involved in singing at my church. I started my own band when I was 16 years old. I got a pianist and a bass player and a drummer. I was writing songs at that point, and I was doing gigs. I got my car. I was doing gigs. I was on my way to making music my full-time career. Not long after that, I released a self-released CD, and then I became acquainted with Lee Lessek, who's an incredibly talented artist in his own right, in cabaret. And he had just started like his record label. So he wanted me to re-release my CD on his record label. and that was called My Romance. And it was that year that I went to the Illinois Jazz Educators Convention. And that's kind of how I ended up doing some songs with the Count Basie Orchestra. I became friends with Dennis Wilson, who was the lead trombone player with the Count Basie Orchestra, and he was doing a lot of their arranging. And we just hit it off, and we had so many musical things in common. And so a lot of times at those events, bands will get together, they'll run through arrangements. And so he invited me in for that. And then Diane Shore had just released her album with the Count Basie Orchestra. She wasn't there at that event. And Dennis asked me to sing a couple songs with the Count Basie Orchestra. And one of them was Every Day I Got the Blues.
I love it. Wow.
But yeah, it was quite an interesting step of musical, excitement.
Well, I mean, since the age of 12, that's a journey. That's a journey you've taken. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. So can you tell me, how did you get involved with the Chicago Cabaret Professionals?
It was like the late 80s and early 90s. And I think one of my musician friends was telling me that they were playing for all these vocalists. And then I think also LML Music had some connections with artists that were involved in it out here. I remember distinctly the first cabaret concert I was a part of. And it was pretty exciting. I think Anne and Mark Burnell were in the show, and Alexandra Billings was in the show, and it was at the Royal George Theater. And I just remember thinking to myself, these are my kind of people. These are my kind of songs. I think that I always felt an inner sense of being connected to the songs that I was singing, and then connecting with the audience through the songs. But I didn't know that that was really what cabaret was all about until I was part of, Chicago Cabaret Professionals.
Okay. Wow, another fabulous journey. So you've been involved for quite some time.
Yeah.
You said, quite some time. Well, that's wonderful. Wow. See, your whole world is eclectic, young lady. Everything. And I tell you, every time I hear you sing, I'm just like, oh, she's going to sing now. I love it. So as we are coming out of this pandemic, is there anything you've changed on how you approach a song, or have you maybe written a new show that, expresses, what you went through this past year? Anything like that?
I think that I've learned some new songs. The pandemic and that downtime, so to speak, really enabled me to reconnect with some songs that I had always thought about doing but hadn't, and to kind of put those into some programs that I'm going to be debuting in the next 8 to 12 months, depending on, what opportunities come about, because things for, the musical artists and musicians are slow, because of concerns still for the pandemic. So we're kind of going to be one of those later on groups of people that really get back to full-time work. But it was really a chance to reconnect. And I think one of the things I discovered also is that music, even more so than I always felt, is just such a personal way of connecting. And it helped me really to just kind of be still and imagine that on the other side of the camera, the people are really right there. So I had to really get used to doing Zoom concerts. I actually have done a lot of them. And what I discovered after the first couple is that just beyond the glass is really all my friends that I'm always so excited to step out on the stage and sing for. and they're really right there. It's as if I'm in front of bright lights and I can't see their faces, but I know they're right there. And so thinking about that really helped me to personalize my concerts even more so than before. And just I can't wait to be in front of them again in person.
Oh, and I know people are looking forward to seeing you in person. So, we could keep talking, but we do have to bring our conversation to a close. But don't think I'm going to let you go before you sing for us. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And how are you going to leave us? What song are you going to sing?
I'm going to go back to 1951, the Capitol Records and the great Nat King Cole, and do one of his #1 songs from the 1950s. And this is called Too Young. They tried to tell us we're too young to really be in love. They say that love's a word we've only heard and can't begin to know the meaning of. And yet we're not too young to know that this love will last, though years may go. And yes, someday they will recall we were not too young at all. They say that love's a word we've only heard and can't begin to know the meaning of. And yet we're not too young to know that this love will last, though years may go. And yes, someday they will recall we were not too young at all.
Maureen Christine, thank you. Take care.
You.
So I'm going to show you how to make a quick, delicious drink, and we're going to be using my favorite vodka, Chicago Cabaret vodka, made by Cello Via. So it's very simple. All we have to do is take a little bit of vodka, like 1.5 ounces. So 4 pieces of cucumber, handful of basil, and a lime wedge. It's all going to go in there, and we're going to mash it up with the end of this spoon. Hang on. Beautiful. Add the ice that's been inside, cooling off our nice martini glass. A little bit more vodka. So I'm going to use some agave. Nice squeeze of agave. I like my drink a little sweet. There you go. Give it a good shake. Get that all mixed in there, that basil, that cucumber, that lime, that delicious vodka. Take this lid off. Give it a nice strain. That is looking delicious. I'm going to add 1 ice cube. And there you go, my friends. The Chicago Cabaret Basil Smash. Damn, that's really good. Wow.
Sometimes you're happy. Sometimes you're sad. But the world goes round. Sometimes you lose every nickel you had. But the world goes round. Sometimes your dreams get broken in pieces, but that doesn't alter a thing. Take it from me, there's still gonna be a summer, a winter, a fall, and a spring. Sometimes a friend starts treating you bad, but the world goes round. And sometimes your heart breaks with a deafening sound. Somebody loses, somebody wins, and one day it's kicks, then it's kicks in the shins, but the planet spins and the world goes round. The world goes round. The world goes round. Sometimes your dreams get broken in pieces, but that doesn't matter at all. Take it from me, there's still gonna be a summer, a winter, a spring, and a fall. Sometimes a friend starts treating you bad, but the world goes round. And sometimes your heart breaks with a deafening sound. Somebody loses, somebody wins, and one day it's kicks, then it's kicks in the shins, but the planet spins, and the world goes round, and round and round, and round and round, the world goes round. The world goes round and round and round.
Kevin Wood, hello.
Hello, Wydetta. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. My
This
pleasure.
is wonderful.
What a great concept. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people just need to know who we are. get to know a little
Exactly.
bit more about us, our background. And you're one of the first people I met when I became a part of the Cabaret Professionals. So I am so thrilled and honored to speak to you. So I
Geez,
love when you perform. Um, the world goes round. Anything that you perform, the energy you bring to it, and the way you can just make a room just go, "Ooh, okay, Kevin." You know.
thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
So let's get started here.
Okay.
So you are known as a storyteller. So I want you to take us back a little bit and share a little bit of your story from young Kevin to now, which is not old. You're just little, you know what I'm saying.
Season. Season. There we go. Well, let's just say young Kevin grew up in rural Iowa. Young Kevin's mother's best friend taught tap dance in our little town of 1700. So my brother and I were forced to take tap dance lessons. And I remember one time I was standing at the basement steps looking at my mother. My mother was screaming, if you don't practice, you have to quit taking tap. I said, I don't want to tap. I want to play piano. So they went out and bought a piano. And that started at 5. I started playing piano and found out that I had a knack for it. So they found me the best teachers that they could. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in a small community that valued the arts. So there was some incredible voice teachers. We had an incredible choral program. And moving forward through undergrad, I was a double major in piano and voice through my junior year of college. Then I decided to focus on voice. I went and got a master's degree in voice from University of Illinois, started a doctorate and said, oh no, I don't want to read about people doing this. I want to do it. So went to New York, did the whole semi-starving artist thing, and got a lot of experience, did a lot of performing, and burnt out on New York, threw a dart at the map, ended up in Chicago, and have done quite a bit of performing in Chicago. But there came a point where I wanted to have a house, I wanted to have a car, I wanted to have a savings account. So I decided I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to perform anymore. And as many of us find that if you're meant to do it, you've got to find a way to do it. And for me, cabaret was the way that I could control my rehearsal time, my performance schedule, and still get my fix. I love the process of creating a show, whether it's on stage, whether it's cabaret, whether it's an opera. I love the rehearsal process and discovery, and I can still do that in cabaret. So that's where I found my home the last few years is cabaret.
Wow. So tell us more about your writing. What inspires you to, there's a certain thing that you like to do. What has inspired that?
I love to write parodies, and parodies that speak to me, to what I've gone through. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. The first one that I wrote is something I'm going to do later. But I like finding that comic twist on something and finding something unexpected. And whether it's in my show or it's in a parody, I like to take you to that point where you might shed a tear, and then the next moment you're laughing. I like to try to find all those points.
Wow, that's great. So now, how many shows have you written in your career for yourself?
Well, that I've put together that I'm proud of.
Okay, that
I've done some.
Yes.
I've done some doozies. It's funny that the early ones that I did, I've done 3 that I like to tour and take around. And I'm constantly, I hate the word tweaking, but fixing them and finding new ways for people to enter into the story. My early ones, and a lot of us make this mistake, is they're too personal, and not everybody can identify with your journey. So, in my early shows, I shut people out because they might not understand the references that I was making, or they wouldn't understand, my lifestyle choices or whatever. So it's like finding that way to open up your show and let as many people who want to get on board and be a part of that journey, that they can do that. So I
Okay.
guess 3 that I like.
3 that you like. Okay. So, during this past year, can you share any reflection you've had and any changes that you've made in your song selections or whatever to get through the year and now
Yeah,
coming out at the end,
I can. It's interesting. So many of my cabaret and other performing friends are still shut down. They don't know how to get back into the business. My shutdown happened at the beginning of COVID. The first 3 or 4 months, I could not sing. I did not touch the piano. I had nothing. And
Hmm.
as it went along, I decided that it was an opportunity to get some more education. So I developed some new skills. I took some audio and video editing classes. So some of those things, like now when I submit a clip, things that I used to pay somebody to do, I can do that now, and I don't have to rely on somebody else. I need this clip in 2 days. I can do it. So I learned some new skills there. I did a lot of cooking classes. I
Oh,
started relearning German. One of my goals next year is to go and do an immersion in Germany. So I thought, I'll get a head start on that. I had the great good fortune to direct 3 shows during COVID that were all virtual. Did
mhm.
2 holiday shows. One of them was our 8th annual interfaith service that I always do with Tom Michael, Becky Mency, Carla Gordon, and myself. And then
Oh, yeah.
each year, I have a guest. And this year, Cindy Firing and Alex Magno were the guests on there.
Oh,
So we were able to do that. And I've done a couple shows virtually at Skokie Theater. And now, May 1st, I'm part of an international fundraising gala out of New York to combat violence against Asians. So
oh, I saw that. I saw that. Where is that in New York? Is that
it's going to be on Honest TV, ONEST TV.com.
okay?
She's been going for a while with different fundraisings and different points of view. In July, they're going to launch a television station that her vision is to combat the fact that after she watches, commercial television and news and stuff, she feels she needs a shower, that it's just too much. And she wants to do a program that puts, light and positivity and optimism out into the world. And so I'll be a part of that when it goes worldwide in July. I'm part of a theater project in Pennsylvania. Who pre-COVID, who would have ever thought to even audition for something
Right.
like that? But I was one of the actors selected to work with the playwright and director and custom writing monologues for 11 of us based on our life experience. And at some point in June, I don't know the dates of that yet, that's to be broadcast. And then finally, in October, I get to go back to Don't Tell Mama in New York.
Yay!
I
love that.
Yes,
I loved it.
I know. I had done my show there the fall right before COVID hit, and
Mhm.
Tanya was like, "Can you bring your show back? Can you bring your show back?" So we scheduled it, and then COVID started, and COVID continued, and now finally, October 2nd, I'm returning, and doing my show again. So I'm excited.
That's wonderful. Well, this has been a full year for you. Just,
Yes.
it's been a, difficult year, but you have really found ways to grow. I mean, you're cooking, so I guess, sooner or later I'll be coming over for dinner. Speak
Trust me,
German.
I'm growing. I'm growing with cooking.
It's like I'm growing everywhere. Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful to hear. You found a lot of positivity in the middle of a lot of negative, and so that's That's wonderful. That is really, I'm looking forward to whatever I can see that you're doing virtually or in person when we can. That's wonderful. Um, so before I close this, can you tell us a little bit on when you became involved with the Chicago Cabaret Professionals, how long you've been involved?
Well, I was a member for a number of years. Yeah, I think, was it when Laura Freeman was the president or before Laura? I can't remember. So I've been a member. I always was fascinated. Back in the day, I used to be at Gentry, a lot.
Yeah.
And listen to Becky and Farron. There was a young man, Farron, who played, and loved it. I was never part of the open mic community there. I was the one in the back with a martini going, yeah, say it again.
And that's
too. So I kind of lurked in the background, and I did a couple of the Strut Your Stuff that where people had a chance to do a mini, part of a program. And then I started doing the conferences like the Midwest Cabaret Conference and O'Neill and St. Louis, and getting more and more involved in the art itself. And I ended up being part of the board. Education is really what I get excited about. So I have brought in, guest teachers and stuff here at my home, and I continue to do a thing now called Sing for Your Sanity, where some of us gather, a small group, socially distanced, once a month, and we each chip in and pay for a pianist, and everybody gets time to try new material. For some of the people, it's the first time they've sung in front of an audience in a year, so it's just a safe place for people to get back at it. And then I was the membership director for CCP for several years. I think it's an important organization, and it's kind of a gateway for people who want to start making connections and figure out this crazy world of cabaret.
You did sum that up in a crazy world of cabaret.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, that is wonderful. I could keep talking to you all afternoon here, but we do have to come to a close. But before I let you go, I want you to sing for us. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to do.
I could do that. Thank you. And we will continue this conversation. There is dinner and cocktails in the future. So
woo, you heard it, people. He said it. He said it.
It's here. So as I mentioned earlier, Wydetta, I did grow up on a farm in Iowa. The farm that I grew up on was next to a town of 50 people. So my life was very limited. I had chores to do and school, but during the nice months, I spent hours and hours, day after day after day on the tractor, whether it was disking the fields, raking hay, plowing, pulling the hay bales up into the barn when it was haying season. I was on that tractor. And for hours and hours, I would see nothing but green fields, acres and acres of green. And I knew at that point, my life wasn't going to be in Iowa, but I wasn't quite sure where my life would take me. So I had a lot of time to daydream. A condo of our own, a wrought iron fence, I think, a grill out on the patio, a soaking tub in pink, a washer and a dryer in our unit would be nice. In the dream home that we share somewhere less green. We never rake the grass. We never mow. What hell? Don't want to be the Bundys or the farmers in the town. There's only West Elm furniture and a maid to keep it clean. In the pig poop scent-free air, somewhere less green, between the Broadway openings and award shows honoring me, we stream our favorite programs, catching up on HGTV. I'm his December guy. He's perfect. He's the best. Our kids, the matching Shih Tzu pups, complete our little nest. We're not the family portrait that our parents had foreseen. Far from cornrows, I dreamed I'd go somewhere less green.
Kevin Wood, thank you.
Thank you, Wydetta. A pleasure.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for tuning in to Cabaret Beat. Please visit our website at chicagocabaret.org to learn more about us, view our monthly calendar where you can see when and where our guests and other members are performing, and also the different ways you can join and or support Cabaret here in Chicago. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.